All right, good afternoon. We are continuing with our ratios and rates. Today we are working on CO31. I can determine if two ratios form a proportion. So each of the following is a proportion. Here are 5 ways we can prove it. So we need to be able to prove that these are ratios. So first thing we're going to do is write our definition for the proportion. A proportion is equivalent fractions. Oh, I'm going to have to use the red. Okay. Can you see the green okay, Cole?
Yeah.
Okay. Equivalent fractions rates and ratios. So now we're going to find out how we can prove that something is a proportion. So the first one is the scale factor with multiplication. So what that means is what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So it's to scale. So to go from 3 to 9, we multiply by 3. To go from 4 to 12, you multiply by 3. So that scale factor, you can see that it's a proportion because what you do to the top, you do to the bottom. So it's to scale. They both multiply by 3. So then we have scale factor with division. Very similar to the first one, except instead of multiplying the top and the bottom by the same number, you divide by the same number. So it's going backwards. To go from 9 to 3, we divide by 3. And to go from 12 to 4, you divide by 3. So next, it's not quite as easy to go from 3 to 4. Ooh, I can't multiply something easily to go from 3 to 4. So 3/6 is in proportion to 4/8, but it's not as clear. So how do we get there? By simplifying. So we have 3/6. We can simplify, divide out a 3, and we get 1/2. 4/8 we can simplify, divide out that 4, and we get 1/2. And when you simplify both fractions, it equals the same simplified fraction. The next one, we're going to use cross products. So if we multiply 15 times 190, we get 2,850. If we multiply 15 by 190, now we're going to multiply these cross products, 125 times 114, and shocker, we get the same product. So we know they are proportion. if we're getting the same cross product. If you multiply the cross products, you get the same number. So you know it's a proportion. Our very last one is decimal values. So if we divide 8 by 7, we get 1.14. And guess what? If we divide 28 by 24 and a half, we get 1.14.
Wait, what?
If we, because remember that fraction bar means divide. So if you divide 8 by 7, you get 1.14. And if you divide 28 by 24 and a half, you get 1.14. So if you divide the numerator by the denominator, on both sides, you know it's a proportion if they both equal the same decimal points. They equal the same answer. So there are the first two, we've done a lot. The first three, we've done a lot. Okay, multiplying numerator, denominator, dividing the numerator and denominator, simplifying. That's stuff that we've worked with a lot. Now we can also do cross products, and we can do those decimal values to find if these two are in proportion. So they're equivalent fractions, rates, and ratios. So let's take a look at what we're doing with this information. So let's look at our next page, if I can scroll down to it. Using two of the methods discussed on the front side, determine if the values are proportional. Show your work. So don't just use your calculator and divide the numerator and denominator and write what that is. Show your work. Show what you're doing. So, Andre, I know you're going to put that book away because this is math class and we're not going to be rude to the math teacher. Nope, put it away. You don't have to write what it is, but you should show it. So you're going to prove it using two ways. And if it's not always going to be a proportion, it says determine if the values are proportional. So if you do two different ways and neither one works, are they proportional? No.
What if one works?
Hey, if one works, another way will work. Otherwise, you're doing your math wrong. Okay, so if you get one way to work and one way not to work, you made a mistake. So if we look at 4/5 and 20/25, what is one way that I could show that they are proportional? Caitlin? I can simplify. I could divide out the 5, and that equals 4/5. So I'm not having to show a whole lot, but you do have to write it, okay? You can't just write yes or no if it's proportionate or not. I want to know that you're using one of the methods. What's another method that we could use? Maddie?
We can multiply by the small part.
We can do our multiplying. Five times 5 is 25. 4 times 5 is 20. So you do have to answer the question, is it a proportion? Yes. Yes, it is. Again, is it always going to be a proportion? No. So you have to do two different ways to show me that it's a proportion. We have 5 to choose from. Then on the bottom, we have our word problems. No, you just have to use one method for the word problems. But if you get it that it's not proportional, you might want to do a second method to double check your work. Make sure you're doing it correctly. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our friends at home and hope that you are having a good day. I need to call back up that Screencastify to stop our recording.